Kimimaro, the pursued vessel of Orochimaru before the illness, but could not really make it to that point, but still was able to carry out the final enacting missions to bring Sasuke to Orochimaru's hideout versus Kakashi, the youngest genius in all of Naruto. How would this fight go? And it's actually a interesting matchup. Today we're going to be using ANBU Kakashi versus the dying soldier of Orochimaru. Shooting for 5k, let's get to it. Now Kakashi in his ANBU Black Ops days really doesn't have much media, but we do have enough to get a clear cut of his power, with just Kakashi again being younger than Obito and Rin on a squad was still made Jonin at the youngest age in history. And not only that, at this Jonin ranking he was seen as a top foremost ninja in Konoha. And you already know that Konoha ninja, when it comes to Jonin, are seen at the top of the forces, with Konoha Jonin being usually more than stronger than other Jonin from other villages, where we see Asuma being able to pretty much take out all the other shinobi from the Sound Village when they were compassing on Shikamaru. So we can already know that Konoha Jonin usually be stronger than other village Jonins, and Kakashi at the age between 9 and 12 was already at the top of these forces, being stronger than most Jonin in the village. And if you want to include the storm game of Kakashi going against Minato, with him actually being able to push back Minato in some instances, with even Minato saying that he already considered Kakashi at the Jonin level, and this is assuming that Kakashi, before actually becoming a Jonin, Minato already considered him on the equal playing field of himself, at least in the Jonin sense of the ranking, obviously not in power. Minato basically saying that Kakashi is already seen at the top forces of the whole village. This is even evident in the Itachi Daylight novel, even people from the Uchiha clan even noting on how Kakashi was even being praised with the likes of people like Minato, as well as other people like the Sannin, while he's still again being around the ages of 13 and 14 and 12 at this time. With even Kakashi before getting the Sharingan was able to go bout for bout with Kuko, somebody from the Stone Village and said to be the most powerful person in the village at that time, and then after getting his Sharingan was able to seemingly one-shot him after being able to use his Chidori with no drawbacks, also while being fatigued as well after fighting with Obito. And we already know that he will also have the Rasengan as well. When training Naruto, said that he was able to copy just at least the base aspect of being able to do it, meaning that he got it at least after getting his Sharingan, but know that he had to have it before Minato died, because I mean Minato would be dead, so he definitely would have the Rasengan during his ANBU days for sure. Now finally get into ANBU Kakashi, where he be getting mastered in his name, becoming even legendary in the foundation stated by Sai, which gaining the potential time where he cut the lightning bolt that made the Raikiri known for being the most deadly assassination jutsu, with him being able to use his ninja hounds to pretty much track anybody with their scent, and being able to pretty much get the statement of him saying that nobody has ever lived after seeing his Sharingan, with people like Yamato said that it will be big shoes to fill living up to Kakashi after being assigned to Team 7 as Kakashi was bedridden. And it's pretty evident that ANBU Kakashi was stronger than at least part 1 Kakashi, with Kakashi being off of the ANBU and being pretty much, you know, chilling because he was failing every getting that he ever got put in front of him, so he really wasn't going on the big timing mentions in the ANBU. We already know that Kakashi is like a different timing, like I just said, with people literally not seeing his Sharingan a second time stated to Zabuza, with even him telling Zabuza that he was a part of the assassination corps as well, and even actually saying in the midst of fighting Zabuza that it's been a while since he's been in these crazy conditions, proving that it's been a while since Kakashi has actually been pushed to the brim of actually needing to go that far in battle. And this is even stated in the first data book, with it even saying that Kakashi has been through many countless life-threatening situations, or even other statements saying that Kakashi has been through many harrowing battles, with even Kakashi training later in the arc being actually surprised of how weak that he got later in the road of the part 1 part of the story. So we can already be sure that ANBU Kakashi is definitely stronger than part 1, and ANBU Kakashi at this point will be over even the likes of people like Neji, who just barely passed the tuning ranking when it comes to power, stated by the data book as well, with even people like Rock Lee in 5th gate preparing to use the gates against Neji, that the other gates wouldn't be able to work, or his base regular speed without weights wouldn't be enough, with the Neji still being stated by Kakashi himself during the tuning exams, not knowing if he could take down their Sasuke. And obviously compare Kakashi to the Jonin of the time around when the Sound Four were moving around, just two special Jonin that should be lower than regular Jonin because they're lacking every skill except for their Pacific specialty. Were still able to force every Sound Four member to go into their Curse Mark 2 state, with them being just off a mission low on chakra, implying that if they had full chakra they could have been able to possibly beat them. But just two special Jonin were able to force the whole squad of Sound 4 to go in Curse curse mark too. And again, Kakashi, just the ages of 10, was seen as at the foremost of all jonin in the village, obviously behind people like Minato, but still at the top ranking, even stated by Minato, with ANBU Kakashi being even worse in the rankings of that said statement. Now moving on to Kimimaro, which is actually not far when you come to think of it, with statements even Kabuto saying that with Kimimaro being there, there's no way that the mission will fail, with pretty much assuming that Kimimaro can solve any problem, with even Orochimaru saying that Kimimaro will pretty much clean up any trash that's not useful to him no longer. And this was right after saying that Sakon is the strongest one of the Sound 4, and pretty much proceeding to say that statement. We even other statements later in Shippuden, it was stated that he was able to calm Jugo down when he went on rampages. Now obviously this is potentially a weaker Jugo than the one we saw, and this is obviously most likely a weaker Kimimaro, but also could be a stronger one given that he wasn't as suffering from the illness as the one that he was during the series. Because Orochimaru even says that how was he even standing in that condition, and he was pretty much explaining when he went to, you know, go get the coffin, that he's moving his mind, not his body. So we can almost assume that the Kimimaro that was settling Jugo down was most likely a stronger version, but you could assume that it could be weaker, whatever you want to think when it comes to that. With the illness, is kind of here or there. Just going off the statements, we can just assume that this Kimimaro was still able to settle a rampaging Jugo down. And again, there's even more statements with even Kabuto literally saying that if he was in better health, the assassination of the Hokage would have gone smoothly. And this is saying something given that, you know, Orochimaru literally had the first and the second Hokage there reanimated, and it still didn't go smoothly, but just adding Kimimaro to the midst would have been a better execution, and it would have been no hitches in the plan. And even more statements, because quite frankly Kabuto was juicing Kimimaro the whole time they were in the lair talking to Orochimaru, but he even says that no matter who stands in his way, nobody will be able to stop him. And this is the same person who was literally confirmed or said multiple times in the story to be able to take on Kakashi if he needed to, and not only that, be able to go against a Tsunade, with Tsunade even saying that his pretty much skills are on par, better than hers than when she was in her prime. And this Kabuto is basically saying no matter who stands in his way, they won't be able to stop him. Now going over the brief fights that he had with Naruto, we saw that Naruto was able to use his, you know, Kurama amp to be able to fight him with his clones. Now the thing about the Kurama amps, we don't know how each amp is when it comes to compare them to the last one. You can't just assume that each amp is stronger than the previous one, but you could say that given that Naruto is most likely mentally amped as well, trying to get Sasuke back, this could be the strongest amp that we've seen. And not only that, he was able to make a ton of shadow codes as well in just a base Kimimaro without the first or second curse mark, was able to pretty handily take on this amp Naruto. But the lead fight isn't really kind of the best thing to use, because this was a lead like literally straight after, you know, surgery, as well as, you know, not being fully back up to par, being able to not even enter into gates. So I don't even think taking the lead fight into consideration would really matter here. But the main one obviously is the Gaara one, with Gaara stated by Lee to be way more stronger than when Lee fought him. And not only that, having the bigger terrain, being able to use more sand from the ground, and even then Kimimaro still almost got the drop on him, but did force Kimimaro to go on his curse mark too. But quite frankly got saved by the illness, because again Kimimaro was about to kill him, and pretty much about to kill every person that he fought until somebody else kept pulling up. Not to mention, you know, Gaara literally putting Kimimaro into a sand coffin, and Kimimaro literally just adding another layer of bone, pretty much making his body not be able to crush by the sand coffin, with him even stating that he can make his density of the bone stronger than steel, or equal to the same density of steel. So Kimimaro all around is broken as well. But who wins this battle? And it's actually pretty difficult to decide. Now one thing that is very apparent, that we know that the Kakashi and the ANBU is definitely stronger than every person that I just compared Kimimaro to, that being Naruto, that being Gaara, that being even part 1 Kakashi, who was stated to be a relative to Kabuto. Honestly, Kakashi at this time is pretty broken as well, with this being the time that he amassed the name of being, you know, being Kakashi the copy ninja, even being so famous and growing so much that even Zabuza recognized him of being in the Bingo book, with again him being able to make the Raikiri, being able to cut lightning. So I do believe that Kakashi would obviously have the advantage when it comes to taijutsu ability, as well as being fast enough to perceive Kimimaro. But the thing is Kimimaro's kekkei genkai. The real problem here is if Kakashi's Chidori or his Raikiri at this point would be strong enough to penetrate through Kimimaro's body. Now he does also have the Rasengan, which he could potentially end up using, because obviously we don't know if he ever used it in a battle, but he does have it in his arsenal, and we already know that he didn't use literally 90% of the jutsus that he does have. But at the same time, he could break it out, seeing that the Chidori or the Raikiri Kakashi is not able to go inside Kimimara's body. But there's still other problems with Kimimaro, you know, going into his Curse Mark 2 state. In his Curse Mark 2 state, he was able to literally go straight through Gaara's sand and literally say that the defenses were literally nothing, or pretty much saying that all he has of his defenses. With Curse Mark 2, Kimimaro also being able to have a underground jutsu where bones literally surround the whole area and he can pop through each bone. Now obviously with Kakashi's Sharingan having, you know, the perception to be able to see, I don't think he'll be able to get snuck up on like how Gaara was, unless, you know, he comes right behind him and Kakashi can't see. But with ANBU Kakashi literally being the highest performing Kakashi before part 2 or Naruto Shippuden, I don't believe that his senses, or at least his reactions and all of his things in battle, will be too low to the point where he would get snuck up on. But again, the main problem here is this: Kakashi could break through the bones of Kimimaro, but like I already said, I do believe Kakashi will have him beat in the physical attributes of the battle, like the speed, etc, and not being able to get hit by the base level of the bones. But you could argue that Kakashi's base attacks, like him hitting him, wouldn't do anything else either, because Kimimaro can literally just make bones around his body. And again, if he can't get through with the Chidori, the only hope that he would really have is the Rasengan that doesn't need to penetrate, but, you know, can literally cause an attack to radiate through your whole body or do damage without penetrating your body. Again, that may also not work. It really comes down to just the ability or arsenal that Kakashi has with the powers of his attacks. But if you believe that Kakashi could outlive the battle before Kimimaro could kill him, and, you know, Kimimaro died of the illness, then Kakashi takes an automatic dub. But if you think that Kimimaro ends up actually killing ANBU Kakashi, then hey, that's your decision. But I'm honestly a believer of Kakashi potentially being able to most likely be able to wait out the battle, or potentially using his Sharingan to put Kimimaro under a slide genjutsu, or even the Rasengan being able to do significant damage. And especially with the Curse Mark 2 state tiring you out even more, I do believe that Kakashi and the ANBU would most likely take this dub. But then again, it's a lot of interjections to say that Kakashi here won't, but I will give the Kakashi more times than not. Going over Kimimaro is a contentious topic, given that he's probably the lowest person that we've seen in the entirety of the manga, with obviously being over, you know, regular characters like Tenden. But again, he's one of the strongest but yet shortest seen characters in the show, so it's really hard, you know, kind of pinpoint where he would be. But with the illness in this battle, though, that is working for Kakashi to be able to get the dub. But again, somebody like Edo Kimimaro that was seen being able to fight alongside Lady Chiyo, even surviving going against a Casey and one clone, that's a little bit different. But this alive sickness to the point where even Orochimaru saying he doesn't even know how Kimimaro could stand in that condition. I think that ANBU Kakashi, you know, being the peak of the foundation, could potentially beat this Kimimaro. But what do you think? Do you think Kimimaro loses and the ANBU Kakashi goes home taking off the mask, or do you think that Kakashi finally ends up joining Rin and Obito? Please comment down below what you think. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Stay blessed. I love you all.